I would say it's a dynamic service. It's a service where you keep upgrading your skills based on the changing requirements. But one bottom line remains that you represent the country for country's interest. And mostly when you are talking about India, the country's interests are generally the global interest also, because we believe in Vasudha Kutumbakam.
From Jawaharlal Nehru to Narendra Modi's India's leaders have often evoked the phrase Vasudev Kutumbakam. The world is one family, taken from the Maha Upanishad to elucidate the country's global outlook. Hello and welcome to the Honest Talk by Freak Folks. I'm Harsh Pandey. For this particular session, we have with us very special guest joining us all the way from Zagreb, Croatia, Ambassador Raj Kumar Srivastava, sir. He's a career diplomat who joined the Indian Foreign Service in 1997. He holds a civil engineering degree from the prestigious Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur. He had pursued further studies in structural engineering and earthquake sciences. Ambassador Srivastava has served in the Indian embassies in Madrid, Spain, Yangon, Myanmar, Vienna, Austria, Brasilia, Brazil, and Tokyo, Japan. While at headquarters in Delhi, he has worked in the Foreign Service Institutes, Americas, US and Canada Division, Gulf, Persian Gulf Division. In the last assignment in Delhi during 2015 to 2017, he was a deputation as Joint Secretary to National Security Council Secretariat, Government of India, looking after the external security. Apart from Hindi and English, Mr. Srivastava speaks fluently Spanish and Portuguese. He takes a special interest in emerging technologies and digital domains. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, his profile has so many things, so many glories, which I won't be able to explain in a few minutes. But I'm pretty sure during this conversation, we are going to learn a lot from him. So first of all, sir, I welcome you to in this session. Thank you so much for joining and actually joining and giving your important time to us.
Thank you, Harsh. It's a pleasure to talk to you and through you, the audience, about the Indian Foreign Service, foreign policy, and other issues, which I think is important that our general population gets to know more about it.
Yes, sir. Actually, thank you so much for joining, and it's a pleasure to. So, moving to the topic of today's session, which we have chosen, is role of Indian Foreign Service, current priorities, and the road ahead. So, my very first request to you is, or it's a kind of a request to you, is please tell us more about actually our viewers, the role of Indian Foreign Service, and being an IFS officer, what kind of challenges you face in everyday life.
The role of foreign service, I would say, is extremely important because we are living increasingly in a globalized world. That's why with this changing role in terms of our connectivity to the whole world, the diplomacy is also changing. Diplomacy of 70 years back, when India became independent 75 years back, was different as compared now. Because India has changed, the world has changed. So that is the challenge in terms of how to keep yourself relevant and useful to the nation. And that's why I would say it's a dynamic service. It's a service where you keep upgrading your skills based on the changing requirements. But one bottom line remains that you represent the country for country's interest. And mostly when you are talking about India, the country's interests are generally the global interest also, because we believe in Vasudha Kutumbakam, as you said. So most of our actions in global arena are about the whole global good and not only just myopic national interest.
And sir, my second part was that what are the kind of challenges being an IFS officer you face and every day you actually encounter with? What are the kind of challenges are those?
Yes, I would say that if I have to quantify, given the background that I have, I try to quantify in mathematical terms. I would say, in general, the challenges are probably 10%, 90% are opportunities. So I would say it's a great service. Anybody who aspires for, I would encourage them to get into it. It's a very tough place to get in, because of our what you call competitive nature of the examination. But ultimately, it's a very rewarding service because you are representing a country which people increasingly look up to. And that's why the challenge comes from the fact that there is expectation that you are going to deliver. And the delivery could be at the people to people level, it could be business to business level, it could be at the government level. So in each level, you need to be on your toes in terms of what you can produce as an outcome, as a process, so that people feel that you are adding value. So it's a prestigious service. It's a great platform for showing that, yes, you could do things. And also in terms of making sure that since you represent a country which you mentioned as Vishwaguru, so we should, that's another challenge, I would say, that you need to be up to the mark, that you can fit into that description of a country and you're representing that country.
Indeed, sir. I think actually you have very beautifully described, and I'm sure the viewers those who are watching this session, they have got a very clear picture how actually this service work. And actually this is very difficult, but I'm sure it is going to actually inspire many of our youth to take this step into this. So my next question to you is, what are your views on the Indian foreign policy, and what are its current priorities and the road ahead? How will it going to make the India the Vishwaguru?
Okay, so India is already a Vishwaguru. It's a question is that how we can take pride in that and ensure that our actions fit into that narrative, as I mentioned already. So it's not that we have to do hard work to make India Vishwaguru. In fact, we have to do hard work to ensure that our image remains what it is from a civilizational point of view. So our actions should speak for themselves. We don't have to prove India. We have to ensure that our actions fit into India's narrative, India's image. Talking about India's foreign policy. Now, Indian foreign policy, if you want to understand it, the best place to see it in terms of speeches by our foreign minister, by foreign secretary, different officials who take floors in different platforms. If you read them, you can get a sense of what is India's ethos in terms of foreign policy or any like global issues when we take floor. Look at what Prime Minister Modi spoke in Glasgow in the COP26. Everybody looked up to it because he spoke not as a country, he spoke for the earth. And this is important, that's where this image of Vishwaguru becomes further strengthened, that you are not only trying to prove something, you are living it day in, day out. In terms of priorities of foreign policy, I would say you can look at one of the very classical speech that our Foreign Secretary, Mr. Shringla, gave in Vivekananda Foundation, I think middle of this year, where he talked about 5 pillars of India's foreign policy, or 5 guiding principles. And I would just summarize it quickly so that your viewers can see how this foreign policy is so predictable. There is nothing what you call rocket science here, because it is based on our civilizational values. For example, India would hardly take a very extreme view. India always chooses the middle path. That's part of our religious heritage. That's part of Buddhism. So we would not take extreme positions on issues of global importance, barring few issues where there is no compromise. For example, there is zero tolerance for terrorism. So there is an extreme view, but that extreme view is for global good. Similarly, India would take views on global issues based on this philosophy or this belief that whole world is one family. Similarly, you can say that India has always followed the policy of strategic autonomy. India is a huge country. We are 1/6 of the population of the world, so we need to maintain our strategic autonomy. So if you see these 3 issues, you have already some guiding principles. Take the middle path in normal situations, strategic autonomy, look at whole world as one family, Vasudha Kutumbakam. You will get with these basic a lot of ideas about what to take a position on issue of global importance. Then when you look at diplomacy today, it's also a platform where we are action oriented. And there I would summarize it in 3 D4D. D4D means diplomacy for development, diplomacy for diaspora, and diplomacy for defense. And all three, D4D, are basically action-oriented. I think previous Foreign Minister, late Ms. Sushma Swaraj, had said that make sure that our missions, embassy, consulates become home away for home for Indian people living abroad. And that is what the service orientation of the Foreign Service, that anybody who comes to our door, they should not be thinking that this is an embassy. They should consider that this is their home away from home. So that service intent is very much highlighted in our diplomacy. When you look at D4D, the development part, now India is going on to next 2 decades with a great great momentum of development. And in this development journey, each individual, each 1.38 billion people of India should be contributing to their best of the capacity. And we being for diplomats, we have certain vantage point to connect India with the world in terms of what best we can get from the world through partnerships. So most of the time when we are looking abroad where we don't have political issues, political problems, that's why I said 90% is opportunities, 10% challenges. That's why I think our diplomats are all the time looking, interacting with the local institutions, finding out where the partnership will help us and help them to create a win-win situation. And then when you look at D4D in terms of diplomacy for defense, I would say defense, hardcore defense means country's security. It could be with a particular counterpart country, or it could be with a non-conventional threat. It could be a defense against the natural disasters. That's why when Indonesia had the earthquake, Indian ships were there on the doors to help first. And that's where diplomacy for defense comes in, that we are action-oriented diplomacy to make sure that our diplomacy also gives results on the ground in terms of defending against human-made as well as nature-made disasters. So this is, I would say, the first part I explained to you in terms of philosophy, in terms of civilizational thoughts, and second part in terms of action. Then you can also look at foreign policy in terms of what are the key essence of our focus areas. So when you look at our neighborhood, you know that one of the key principles or key focus in our foreign policy is neighborhood first. So there is a great amount of time our diplomats give how we can contribute to the development of our neighborhood. So countries like Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, all these neighborhood countries are very, very crucial in terms of making sure that we have an arc of stability around us and we can contribute to their development process. So neighborhood first, then you look at extended neighborhood, Central Asia, we have historical civilizational relationship. You look at West Asia, we have, I would say close to 8 million Indian origin people live in those Gulf countries, Persian Gulf countries. So that again is an area of extended neighborhood where we have a lot of diplomatic work going on, connected with people, connected with businesses. And then when you look at Southeast Asia, that's another extended neighborhood where we have Act East policy, from look east to act east. So in that sense, when you look at this neighborhood and extended neighborhood, we already know that this is one of the key focus areas of our foreign policy. And then one key principle that we are increasingly following, that multipolarity in the world is very important for global peace and stability. So you would see India active in BRICS, you would see India active in Quad, you would see India active in G20 and in UN. Basically, multipolarity is the way to ensure that there is more peace, there is more prosperity, and there is more progress. So with these three buckets, I have tried to explain to you that foreign policy is guided by principles where there is hardly any confusion what India will take as a policy decision.
Indeed, sir. Actually, you have answered very smartly, and you have described all those things. And I'm sure the viewers, those who are is going to find this meaningful. So, my next question to you is: do you think that the role of diplomats will grow in future?
Absolutely, absolutely. It will grow, and it will grow in tandem with the capacities that we develop. So it's a kind of a virtuous circle, I would say, that you do more, you will get more to do. And that's why the role will increase, because as I said, that despite this pandemic, the COVID-19, the unfortunate last 1.5 years that whole world has gone through, there were some articles written about that, is it the end of the globalization? Really not. It is actually making sure that we are more connected
Yes.
For example, through digital means. I don't think that before COVID-19 you would have tried to connect with me on
Correct.
this platform. But because of COVID-19, this has become the norm, and you don't even feel shy in trying to make efforts to connect all across the globe. So I would say world is more globalized post this pandemic, and if it is more globalized, the role of diplomacy becomes more important. But the diplomacy itself has to change, because the changing need of the nation, changing need of the people who are more connected, requires the diplomacy should also upgrade itself, should not live in the time warp of 50 years back and saying this is the traditional role of diplomacy. And I explained to you D for D in terms of development, diaspora, defense. These are the things that will become your bread and butter in terms of diplomacy, because when more people of Indian origin are abroad, there will be more services expected, and this will change the role of diplomacy, or priorities of diplomacy. So I would say that there's no doubt that role of diplomacy will continuously increase.
Indeed, sir. Actually, sir, my next question to you is, how do you see the India and Croatia relationship?
Okay, India and Croatia relationship has absolutely no negative in that relationship. It has great potential, and I would say because the size is so different, the Croatia is, just to give you an idea, if you compare with the Indian state, Croatia is like Himachal Pradesh.
Okay.
So when you are comparing a nation-to-nation relationship, of course, it is one-to-one relationship, but the benefit of this partnership will be disproportionately more for Croatia than for India, because Croatia connected to India will benefit with the vibrant Indian ecosystem of economy, the culture. On the other side, I would say that Croatia is also a very niche technology-driven driven country, and therefore there are opportunities for important companies from Croatia to get good businesses in India, and in India getting those technologies from Croatia. Then there is opportunities, for example, in terms of digital ecosystem benefiting. Croatia itself is moving into a momentum in terms of getting into European Union in full way. It is a European Union country, but it is not yet the Eurozone country. Its currency is kuna. In 2 years' time, probably Euro will be the currency here by 2023. It is not part of Schengen. It will be part of Schengen hopefully next year. So given that Croatia itself is in a momentum path, the relationship between India and Croatia can also show bigger progress as compared to what it has been in the last 5 years. So that's why I would say there is all signs that we will see a more active relationship in the coming, say, 2 to 3 years' time as compared to what it was in the pandemic year, last 2 years.
Actually, this is really very great. Sir, my next question to you is actually this is not very much related to a topic, but as our most of the subscribers and most of the viewers are youth, so I'm sure they are actually interested to know this. Sir, coming from the civil engineering background and from the top tier and one of the premier institution of India, IIT Kanpur, what made you to join Indian Foreign Service?
Okay. Yes, this was the question that was asked to me in my interview also. So it's an old question. This was asked to me in 1997 when I went to the interview, that what made you choose to get into civil services? And the reason, I would say, first of all, I believe in destiny. We believe in karma in India, and I believe that's a very, very satisfying theory, which allows you to keep a positive outlook towards life. So I would say that you don't choose anything. Things come to you. What you choose is the current moment.
Yes.
The current moment that you are living, you live to your fullest potential, and rest of the things will fall in line. So I don't have a slightest of inkling to say that I chose foreign service. I would say foreign service chose me. It found me the correct candidate at the right time, and the paths were made in my life to get into it. And after that, joining foreign service, the journey began then. So it's a lot of people think that once you have joined a civil service, your life is now secured. I would say that's the real opportunity. It's a gate opening to you to then live the life in a different platform. So life always, you make one progress and you find that where you reached is a very small glimpse of what you are going to achieve in future. I believe in one of these saying that you should never dream small. If you dream small, you will limit your potential. And that's why right? So now your question is specifically about being from civil engineering. Uh, Now, to answer this question to my interview board, I said that, civil engineering is a subject in the mains examination. If civil engineering is a subject in the mains examination, are you expecting a history graduate to take civil engineering? No, you are expecting a civil engineering graduate to come. So as long as you have civil engineering as a mains examination, you cannot ask the question, how come you are a civil engineer and getting into civil engineering in the civil services?
Correct.
So I answered that your system is prompting me that, I have civil engineering as a subject, why don't you try it? And I tried it, and the path got opened up. So that was one answer. The second answer, to tell you that, as I said, that the role of diplomacy is increasing. When I'm talking about development, my technical background helps me to find these opportunities in countries like Japan, where I was posted, or in Croatia, much better way, because I can always look at technically that, okay, this opportunity in India will connect much better for both the countries, because I have that liking towards going beyond just the superficial knowledge and go in depth and see, yes, here is a potential for connecting the two technological institutions. So just give you an idea, in the last 1 year that I have been in Croatia, we have signed 6 partnership agreements between IIT Roorkee, IIT Indore and University of Osijek, IIT Gandhinagar and University of Zagreb, IIM Lucknow and Faculty of Economics and Business, University of Rijeka, and Kalinga Institute of Technology, Bhubaneswar. So from all different directions, I have tried to connect those institutions who are looking to internationalize from Croatia and from India. So I think it's good to have a kind of variety of diplomats in Indian Foreign Service who can always apply their different aspect of knowledge wherever they are in different fields of diplomacy.
Indeed, sir. Actually, you have the way you have tackled the question. I think this is something which we need to learn. And this was really very impressive. I'm very much impressed from you, this answer. And sir, I can say there's a lot more to learn from you, but today I don't want to take too much of your time. So moving to my last question of this session, actually, I want to know your thoughts, because we have seen is that youth is a time of enormous energy. A lot of youth is in confused state of minds. The youth of today's generation need clarity and balance. They have become the victim of social media information overload. Everywhere there's a compulsion. They are addicted to smoking, alcohol, drugs, and gruesome video materials. There's been substance abuse like never before. So, in your opinion, what are the small efforts we can practice to bring an awareness among the youth, just to remind them of their enormous energies, how to balance them and lead their life well?
I would say that again, you started with the term Vishwaguru. So if India is Vishwaguru, we should look at where are the lessons of life within India. And I think we have this knowledge, we have this clarity how to live the life. Human beings are beings because they have to experience the life.
Yes.
And if you experience, and I said in one point of time that you need to live the moment. I think this is not only for youth, for every human being. If you are being true to the moment, you will never have the worries in future. The essence of eternal happiness is to ensure that whatever you are doing right now, you are doing to the best of your potential. So I would say to the youth, and I'm talking, when I'm saying youth, I'm talking to my son, my daughter, that when you are looking at your future, don't just plan your future in terms of what you are trying to achieve. Don't forget the present, because your future will depend upon what you have done right now. And in that context, I would say you need to find out what gives you pleasure, what gives you happiness. And there I am going to quote you a Japanese concept called ikigai.
Yes.
Now, ikigai is very difficult to translate in any other language. Ikigai could be in French raison d'être, which means the reason for life. Now, ikigai in a mathematical sense are 4 circles, and the intersection of those 4 circles is ikigai. And what are these 4 circles? The first circle is what you are good at. The second circle is what the world can pay you for. The third circle is what you like doing. And the fourth circle is what the world needs. If you can find something in your own personality, in your character, in your behavior, which you like doing, which you are good at, which the world can pay you for, and actually world needs. I think you have found the eternal happiness of your life. So you should not try to imitate anybody. You should try to find out what you actually are good at, and try to find that goodness which actually world is also in need. Because many times, if you follow these principles, you will never be diverted. Because a lot of questions ask, if you are saying that happiness is the key, then I am feeling happy addicted to a computer game. What's wrong in it? But that's not the world wants, and world will not pay you for. So you need to find something which is sustainable.
Yes.
And that's where I think you get the answer. So I would say, in one word, find your ikigai.
Indeed, sir. This was really very inspiring message from your side, and I'm totally very sure that the viewers, those who are watching this session, they are also going to find this insightful as well as inspiring. And once again, thank you so much, sir, for joining and giving your important time. We look forward to conduct more such session with you in future. And again, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
On the ground is where I stand. Never give up, that was always the plan. It's so cold outside, I'm alone, I'm alright. It's so cold outside, I'm alone.